Hello everybody, it's Gotham Dragon here with another video wearing the James Gunn's Superman suit for Superman, and today I'm gonna be touring the Gotham City News building, and this also happens to be nearly 3 years ago when I uploaded my last tour video of an iconic Gotham City building. It was September 3rd of 2022 when I uploaded the last one. And ever since that, I've just been updating the whole city, but I've never dedicated a whole video to one iconic building itself. And I started this channel in 2022, especially for these iconic buildings. So today I'm going to be going over the GCN building, and I actually don't remember when I started building this building, probably a couple of years ago. But I've just recently finished the interior, which is why I'm finally, after 3 years, nearly 3 years ago, I'm finally making a tour. So we have this cool window design with, oh my God, the amount of buttons that this building has, it's absolutely insane. It took me millions of years to finally be finished with the exterior. Of course, you got the acronym, which stands for Gotham City News. In some variations, is called Gotham City News Network. So instead of GCN, it would be GCNN. But in my version of Gotham, it is simply Gotham City News Network. So GCN. And I gotta say, for a building that was built, well, for my standards, a long time ago, I like it a lot. And yeah, I have enrons here to make it light up in the sky and all of that. And up here, let's fly like Superman. And up here we have the antenna or the satellite thingy to like to send signal to the whole city. We have this thing, I forgot what this thing is called. We have a helipad. Hell yeah, we can see the cathedral from here. We can see Arkham Asylum. We can see the rest of the city, basically, the rest of the old Gotham district. We are in old Gotham, and you can see GCR right over there. We have these fans here and this little smokestack, the helipad, and two elevators that lead down into the building. So let's start in the interior, shall we? Or okay. So a long time ago, I built this water fountain. This was the first ever sidewalk to be extremely wide, and I used this to my advantage, and I built a water fountain here with the sea lantern so they can see it in nighttime. And one of the last things that I built was this GCN logo from the banners. I finally did something with the banners. I've never been able to, make the letters with the banners, but I finally taught myself. So the G is kind of clunky, but the C and the N are pretty accurate to, the actual letters in real life. So yep, that's awesome. So let's go into the, oh my God, this is the first time in 3 years that I'm going to be touring this, so I'm so excited. Anyway, the first thing we see is the metal detector. So basically like a hospital, you don't want people coming in here with like weapons and all that or knives. Security check here. This is basically the lobby where you check in. You can see this like beautiful GCN logo right there with the with more fountains here, which looks awesome. We have the carpet, which secretly has sea lanterns in the bottom, so it can get, more light. And these are like secretaries or like, just to check in if you have an appointment. I know I fucking just, yeah. I'm walking over the desk. Superman is walking over the desk. Isn't that hilarious? Anyway, we have the trash can and the recycling bin, which I don't know why these people not have recycling bins, but they're over here, but not over there. During these tour videos, I try to not fly around so that, you can actually feel like how it would, how it would be. realistically speaking. Um, I don't know why it says men and women. It's supposed to say men or woman restroom. But I'm not gonna go into all of the bathrooms because they're all the same. I mean, you can see like they're all basically the same thing, just um, we got the toilet, the trash can, and the water fountain. If I can just fix this here, restroom, there it is. So this basically the toilet, the trash can, and the water fountain. There's no urinals for like the men. They're all basically the same. The same thing with the women's restroom. It's basically the same thing. So I'm not going to be going into the bathrooms anymore since you already know what they look like. So yeah, this is the first floor that I built when I was making all of this. So yep, that's the first floor. There is 10 floors in total. Nearly all of them have bathrooms except for the 8th floor, which the 8th floor is arguably one of my favorite floors in the whole building. So let's use the elevator on the right. So the first floor, let's close the door. Just pretend these are elevators, but it's basically a ladder. The second floor. So the second floor here is home to more office space and a lunchroom. So we have a little lobby here with the desks, with the chairs. You have the same bathrooms here. I don't know why that's open. And close these doors. I don't know why they're open. Um, so I have a cool little carpet design here. This is chief of security. So if you have a big building like this, you have to have your security. So this is the person who is in charge of the security people. Um, you can see all of the cameras or like the screens like that lead to the cameras outside and inside the building. So I know I said chief of security, but let's pretend that, he or her has an assistant. So that explains why there are two desks instead of just one. Over here, we have the reporter lounge. So if a reporter is on break, they can just come hang out with their buddies, watch TV, read a book, just chill, eat a snack, whatever. And there is a clock right there. And here we have a lunchroom. I don't want to call it a cafeteria. It's more like a lunchroom because you come eat your lunch here, or I'm not sure. Maybe it is a cafeteria. Anyway, we have a microwave. This is not my original design. I did borrow it from a buddy of mine who also built Gotham City Minecraft, stuff. Here's a coffee machine and all of that jazz. We have a refrigerator, only one refrigerator in this whole room. And I have a lot of end rods here to add more light because it just gets really dark, especially with like the dark texture that I added like with these blocks. So that is basically the second floor is finished already. Just looking at it. And the third floor is the archives/library. So here journalists will come and do their research. And to be honest, maybe I did take a few creative liberties considering the fact that I've never really been to a news network building. So I had to do my research, and apparently there is an archives room where journalists people do their journaling or research on these certain topics to, make stories and news out of them. So um, I like how like the library/archives turned out. I mean, there's really not a whole lot thing that you can do with like books and all that, but I added ladders here, for short folks to, you know, I didn't need to add the ladders, but to make it more like detailed, I think it was pretty cool to add them and a lot of desks here for the database, searching the database about like something, and basically the bathrooms are really basically the same thing. I'm not gonna go in there. You already know how it looks like. Anyway, that's the third floor finished. And the third floor here, one of my favorites because we're finally in getting into like the broadcasting side of the building. Here is a weather forecast, or well, let's pretend that it's a weather forecast. I mean, I added a desk. There's only so much you can do in Minecraft to make it look as realistic as possible. So I added the banners here and rods in the back with the carpet. And this is the camera. Yet again, this is not my original design. I borrowed it from a friend of mine, but I did I did it basically all of the building. I just borrowed some of his designs for the uh, the objects like the cameras. So and the blue screen, so like it's neat and you won't see wood in the background. So that's that. And it's basically this room is kind of symmetrical. So basically if you've seen this side of the room, you've kind of seen or you already know what the other one is gonna look like. So it's basically the same thing. So Superman is like broadcasting himself right now. That's awesome. I don't know if that should be the thumbnail for the video, but it looks great. Nearly every floor has its own little lobby, so you can just chill here. I added some vegetation to like give it more uh, of a style, of a cool nature aesthetic. A carpet here, like the bathrooms, and you can see the restaurant and the Gazette right over there. Recycling bin, trash can, all of that. And yep, that's floor number 4. On to the 5th floor. So now this one is another one of my favorites. Well, the whole building is a favorite of mine, but like I think I outdid myself on one of these, to be honest. Anyway, we have a really big GCN logo. Unfortunately, it's not consistent with the one on the first floor because it didn't fit on the 5th floor. So I had to make it a little bit different. So I added stairs instead of just blocks. So here we have a really big carpet yet again. I'm not sure if that's luxury, but like, who cares? Women's restroom and then the men's restroom over there. More vegetation, more waiting here if you have an appointment or gonna meet somebody. Um, 2 more secretaries here. Trash can, all that. Computer here. And in the back, there is a conference room. So you can see this really long table of like, I don't know, like what this room could be used for, but just in case the people in charge or the higher ups want to have a meeting, they have somewhere to go to. This this wall here was really boring, but I added the GCN thing and I'm pretty satisfied with like how it looks. And yet again, I can see the whole city skyline, the old Gotham skyline from this interior, which looks really cool. And yeah, that's the conference room. A really long table, if you ask me. So that's the 5th floor. Anyway, here we have the 6th floor. So this one is the 6th floor is home to the telecommunications and server room. So yet again, we have our bathrooms um, for folks to use. Woman is on the left and men is on the right. More like a little lobby waiting area. Constant high level of security. So here is the security room. This is where a security guard monitors the server room. So just let's pretend these are computers or what someone call it. They're like TV spots to like keep an eye on the servers and telecommunications room. Here we have some drawers so that he can store files. He or her can store files. Um, so here is like what would I call it? Like a password or a passcode. Telecommunications and server room. So I know it's Minecraft, and I try to make it as accurate as possible to how it is in real life, but it is just really, really difficult. So I added these things, and let's just pretend that these are telecommunications and servers and all of that. So I even added cameras with like just, let's pretend these are cameras. So these are cameras, and these are basically the ones that like the security guard next door is looking through. And yeah, so these are servers. I'm not a tech person, so I don't really know what servers are for, but it has to do with like communication stuff and all that. And if you're broadcasting live, I think it's pretty good to have one of these, considering. So so that's the sixth floor, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the sixth floor, the security, perimeter with like telecommunications and all that. So it's the seventh floor. And now you see that the seventh floor ends here because there is another pair of elevators on the other side of the room. And this is intentional, if you ask me. So yet again, we have another lobby, but what I like about this room is that there is more office space with dress rooms. So yet again, when I did my research on on what's in a building like this, my research brought me to like dress rooms. So like if you're a guest and you're gonna be broadcasting live with like, the people that invite you here to interview or something like that, they give you an option to prepare yourself so you can dress or look as nice as possible. These rooms are dress rooms, but they're not really separated or divided by gender, so they could be used for like both men or women. So this is a mirror and a chair, and this is a wardrobe with some barrels, and you can change yourself and all that. Recycling bin and trash can just in case. This also happens to be one of the smallest rooms in the whole building. So yep, I like the little arch design that I made. And right here it says dress room around the corner. So if you go around the corner, the dress room is going to be there. The same thing over here is basically symmetrical. On this side is the same thing. Yada, yada, yada. Same thing. So a lot of the floors are symmetrical. So like there's a hallway in the middle dividing it. And if you see the other building on this side, it's basically the same thing over here. Is this the elevator that leads to... Yeah, okay. The seventh floor, that's it. For the seventh floor. The eighth floor, now this is basically the main event. Instead of GCN, like I've been doing for the majority of the building, I decided to change it up a little bit and make it live. So not GCN, but live. So GCN live. And it took me quite a while to get the letters straight, and it turned out pretty cool. So yet again, it's a symmetrical one. So if you see the broadcasting room on this side, you've already seen it over there, but because it's a full tour of an iconic building, I'm gonna do it anyway. So anyway, let me like Superman is walking in to the news broadcasting control room. Ta-da! Wouldn't you know? So this is basically the main event of the whole building. We have a really big camera here blasting the broadcast live throughout the whole world and the whole city. We have a little bit of TV screens or like screens in general. GCN logo over here. Two people here. And then we have a control desk, which is basically the guy who's taking care of the audio and all of the cool effects that they're using to broadcast this throughout the whole world. And I try to make it, because it's like a studio, I try to make it kind of dark around, so like, there wouldn't be, so there can be a good, like a really big contrast between like the really dark area and the really light one. That's why I added sea lanterns on the bottom of these carpet thingies. So yeah, this was a. I'm really proud of how this turned out, and I can just fly and show you the other one. So it's basically the same thing over here. Two news networking employees and workers here. You know, and here we have like you know like editing the like the video and all that. So yeah. So basically, if you think about it, in the whole building four there are four broadcasting networks because you have the weather forecast, I believe in the fourth floor. I forgot which floor it was. But downstairs, or I mean not downstairs, but in the other floors there is two weather forecast floors. I mean broadcasting rooms. And here on the what is it, the eighth floor? On the eighth floor there is two. So four in total. I think that's good. I don't know how you would judge that, but I think it's fine. So that's the eighth floor. The ninth floor is basically a bunch of office space for the journalists to just work and research more stuff. Maybe the archives are full and they just want their own little desk here. You can see the cathedral from here, woman bathroom and the men's bathroom. And yeah, this was actually one of the last rooms that I've ever built, so it's really open. So you can see the outside, you can see the skyscrapers. That's awesome. And oh boy, wasn't this like really hard to not to build, but to like make it symmetrical and like even. That was the hard part. So that's it, and that's ninth floor. So one more floor. So the 10th floor is basically the attic or the storage room. It is the it is the floor that's all the way up here, but like I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't want to have to do the repetitiveness of building even more office space, considering that the building already has plenty of it. So with this is like a storage area where folks or like the people in charge will put old technology here, like to retire it or just throw it out. Before you throw it out, you put it here. Kind of like a little garage, like a little storage area. We got a bunch of crates, old cameras that like haven't been used for years. And the little skylight here. You can see the rooftop. So yeah, that's basically it for the interior as we make our way to the rooftop. So this could be the 11th floor, but the floor ends will be here. So there is 10 in total plus a rooftop. And then the rooftop, here we have the little skylight thingy. And then we have the little smokestack, the helipad, and the antenna that I showed you guys earlier. And yeah, that's basically it. That's the Gotham City News Network building for you. So the GCN building, one of the first buildings that I finally finished in quite a while. And yeah, that's basically it. If you want me to build any other iconic Gotham City video, please make sure to comment. Or if you really enjoyed my video, make sure to like, subscribe if you enjoy, share if you please, as your support is truly appreciated. Gotham Dragon out. Bye.